The Honourable Bob Danby.
Thank you, Mr Assistant President. I rise to speak on Cricket Australia's proposed privatisation of the Big Bash League. This morning I gave a notice of motion calling on Cricket Australia to rule out the proposed sale of equity stakes in the 8 BBL franchises, including the Sydney Sixers and the Sydney Thunder. I've put this motion on the notice paper because cricket is not something that is owned by Cricket Australia. It is our national pastime. It belongs to the people. It is not an ASX-listed company or an investment vehicle or a plaything for the rich. Cricket Australia's role is to be a steward, a protector and a custodian of the game. Mr Assistant President, the proposed privatisation of the BBL reflects a mindset that infected New South Wales public policy under the former coalition government and reached its zenith under the former Premier Mike Baird. That mindset was the belief that the government should outsource as much of its traditional role as possible and allow private sector interests to commercialise the provision of public infrastructure and services. It came with its own catchphrase, asset recycling, a phrase designed to create the impression that privatising public infrastructure was just normal and prudent behaviour for governments. Just like putting your used bottles and aluminium cans into the recycling bin rather than into landfill. The truth, of course, is that privatisation is nothing like that. Privatisation hands control of something that has been and should be operated in the public interest over to private interests, who then operate it in a way that maximises their private profit. In New South Wales, we've seen this mindset take over our roads, over our hospitals and our energy networks. This mindset was so prevalent that at one stage the former Transport Minister Andrew Constance boasted about his plans to privatise the state's entire public transport network. He said, and I quote, "I have a very clear view that into the future, government will no longer be providing services when it comes to transport. We know that the private sector can deliver transport very effectively." That's the mindset we are now seeing at Cricket Australia, driven by a philosophical aversion to public ownership and a belief that nothing is so sacred that it can't be put to use for private profit. Mr Assistant President, economists Matthew Lilley and Patrick Ferguson recently critiqued the proposal in the Australian Financial Review. They noted that selling stakes in the franchises would be a short-term sugar hit for Cricket Australia, which would come at the expense of a long-term revenue stream. They noted that privatisation of the Big Bash League would inevitably lead to its integration with the Indian Premier League and the likely rebranding of teams and a playing schedule that better fits with the viewing preferences of overseas television audiences. And they also pointed out that the increased investment would probably be used for recruiting overseas players, thus leading to more money leaving Australian cricket and reducing opportunities for local players. In short, they found that selling the goose that laid the golden egg won't deliver the riches Cricket Australia wants. Or in their words, cricket is the lifeblood of the Australian summer and a key part of our cultural heritage. As the steward of that, Cricket Australia has the responsibility to nurture the game here, not to extract every last dollar from it. So what are the alternatives, Mr Assistant President? Other models for increasing the profitability of the Big Bash League have been bandied about, and these should be examined carefully. There is also the option of exploring fan ownership, a model that has been successfully used by sporting clubs like the Green Bay Packers in the NFL. If it can work for a small city like Green Bay in a league as competitive and capital intensive as the NFL, then surely fan ownership is something that should be considered in the Big Bash League. To conclude, Mr Assistant President, this whole episode has shone a light on the actions of the Cricket Australia Board. The Cricket Australia Board has a responsibility to act in the interests of the entire cricket community, including all cricket fans and every cricket association right across the country. And Mr Assistant President, if the chair of the Cricket Australia Board finds this responsibility unfair or restrictive, then he should do the honourable thing and stand aside, rather than pitting fans and state associations against each other in the pursuit of a divisive personal obsession that does not have collective support.
The Honourable Rod Roberts.